Inzerillo coming to us from somewhere overseas. Looking forward to having a great show today. Anthony Milcuri, if it's 12 o'clock, it must be your time to shine. How you doing today, my man?
How you doing, buddy? I'm really excited about today. We have a lot of great guests, but as you know, Jerry Inzerillo is a big one of the people I look up to, so I can't wait to talk to him. So let's get on with the show, my brother.
All right, the one, the only, Mr. Jerry Inzerillo is coming up in just 1 second. Boom. Look who's here, Jerry Inzerillo. Well, half of Jerry Inzerillo.
Hey guys, the A team, Anthony and Glenn.
Hey.
Jerry, just so you know, I told Glenn that I would be wearing a tie today for you. But I said, you know what? Let me put a sports jacket on in case Jerry's not wearing a tie. But I knew you were going to be wearing a tie.
You guys look great always.
Thank you so much. This is going to be a really important interview for us. So everybody out there, share this feed. Get people to pay attention to what Jerry has to say, because we know it's going to be important, especially since he's already said nice things about us. Great to see you, sir.
Well, it's great to see you too. Thank you for all your leadership. You guys have been a B12 injection to everybody in the community. Thank you so much. It's very important. People look up to you guys. You're the best in class. So thank you very much. Everything you're doing, all the encouragement, keeping the conversations going. You're just great. So thanks, guys. Big time.
Well, I got a chill in my body when you said that, because the people that don't know you, I'll just simply say you can Google him. We're not going to go down his resume, but I will just tell you he's probably he is one of the greatest leaders of the last 100 years in the hospitality business. He has started so many different trends, so many different things, and and I said just recently, I called you and then I texted you. And there was a heavyweight fight, and I said he's going to be in the ring because I know it was in your territory. And there you were, right next to the champ, raising his hand, and I was like, "Of course, that's Jerry." Jerry is truly the Forrest Gump of our world, and Jerry, that you're on the show right now is probably the highlight of our show so far. And we've had some great people on.
Thank you.
But you've been in the trenches for so long, and you've seen everything. And there is, and I will say this without hesitation, there is no better motivator and cheerleader of our industry than Jerry Inzerillo, period, end of story. So with that said, Jerry, what are you thinking? Where are we? What insights can you give? There's not going to be a lot of questions here. I just want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, well, thank you. Look, you can't, there's one thing about being an optimist. There's one thing about spreading positivity. Nobody does it better than the two of you.
Thank you.
But you also can't mislead. And there's an old saying that you have to call a spade a spade.
Yep.
And what happens is that now we have seen a lot of different cycles in 50 years. And as you know, I started cleaning tables 53 years ago, still cleaning tables.
At the same place that I clean tables.
Yeah, that's right.
Lemire on Ocean Parkway.
That's it. Now what happened is that this too shall pass. This one is seismic. Those of us that have young children, when they get 70, 80, 90, they're going to say, when we lived through the coronavirus, it's one of those big moments. Okay, this is seismic. There's going to be a lot of pain. But there is a silver lining for a few weeks.
Hey, your microphone seems to have gotten lower all of a sudden.
Is that better?
Yes.
Better?
I think maybe your finger was over the.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. All right. So what happened is that people have always had to travel because people fundamentally need to share. They need to be communal. They need to embrace. They need to experience. And you know what? The last few years, we've seen those trends in travel. Like one of the biggest trends you've seen in the last few years is what we call 3-generational travel. You got a lot of wealth out there now. And grandparents who have wealth realize that the biggest luxury that there is time. So they don't want the grandkids after church or shul or studies or mosque, or so that what they do is they use bribery. The grandparents are very smart. Okay, you pick anywhere in the world. Grandma and I will pay for it, but we're going together.
Mm-hmm.
But we get the kids for the whole week, the grandkids for the whole week. Well, it turned out to be a giant trend. You think about how women travel alone or in groups now. Look at any great restaurant in Las Vegas, Macau. Half the restaurant is filled with women just having fun as a group, right? That never happened 20, 30 years ago. Okay. You look at millennials that because of the power of social media, they can just go. They don't even need a posse now because they can hook up with like-minded people.
Right.
But what people are looking for now is authenticity. They're looking for real human connection. When you have been landlocked and in your apartment for 6 weeks and probably another 6 weeks in a lot of other places, you're going to crave it more. So they're going to go. Now, the rest of this year is going to be very tough because people are going to be insecure. Can I go to that restaurant? Can I go to that hotel? Can I go back on the cruise ship? Can I go back on an airline? Do I have to sit in the middle seat? We don't know ourselves. But what we do know is that things are going to come back. Now, will it be a bounce back immediately to 2019 global GDP and employment levels? Of course not. But what that means is that we have to just make sure that we stay sharp. This whole thing about training, like now all over the world, including Forbes Travel Guide, these free elite training classes, take them. Keep yourself, whatever it takes to get through the next 6 to 12 months, do it. It doesn't matter. It's going to come back. And the industry is going to come back. Now, we have to get through the next 6, 9, 12 months. And they're going to be bumpy, everybody. They're going to be bumpy. But we are going to come out on the other side because the human need to travel, to interact, will be greater because now we know how fragile things are. And people are going to want to see it, the real things for themselves. So we're gonna have to deal with it. We're gonna have to be pragmatic. It's gonna be painful, but we will get through it. And that's where the positivity comes in. And that's where we have to stay together, stay sharp, keep our skills up. But human interaction is never more important than what will come out of the other side of this virus.
Let me ask you a question, Jerry. I'm a positive person. You're a positive person. We come from the same streets, literally. We started, our busboy job was the same place we worked at. We crossed paths. We didn't know each other when we were kids, but we crossed paths. Had to be. And we've seen a lot on the streets of Brooklyn and through our careers. Give me an example, without using a name, where someone called you in the last month that is someone pretty relevant in the community that was shaken. And what did you say to that person? Because I know those conversations happened. And what did you say to them?
Yeah, I'm getting, I wish I could say 1 or 2 of those SOSs a day, but I'm getting more than I can handle. I'm getting 2, 3, 4 dozen a day.
Jeez.
Wow. Now, you get the severe ones where you work with people that you love and admire. One of my great mentors, Carl Matek, who was president of Hilton, one of the great innkeepers, passed away. Now, arguably, he was in his 90s of the coronavirus. Very hurtful to me because he was unbelievably good to me when I was manager at Fontainebleau, executive assistant in 1978. He was regional director of Hilton, went on to become president, one of the great innkeepers. Without mentioning names, I've had 3 people that worked with me, all of which, more than 3, but 3 in particular, that started with me in line positions, busboy, waiter, including one that couldn't even speak English when they went to America in Houston, Texas in 1980. All three went on to become GMs, and all three died from the coronavirus.
Wow.
2 children, 3 children, 4 children, 47, 52, and 56 years old, respectively. That's painful. And one of the wives called me and said, this person passed away. Broke my heart because he was, as we say in Brooklyn, one of our boys, one of our community in a luxury hotel company. So those are very hard because that you have to take the role of, what can you say? You have to be empathetic. You have to console. And you have to say, these are things that we don't understand. This is bigger than us. This is in God's hands. Now, more realistically, the SOSs that are coming in, what do? I got laid off. What do I do? And what you have to do, because I'm getting a lot of it, is I say, okay, look, there's very little that we can say in the course of the next 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks, right? But you got to protect yourself. You got to protect your family. So if you have businesses, and our friends, Anthony, Glenn, in the restaurant business have been decimated. Not everybody's a Shake Shack. Not everybody's a Ruth Chris, But even the famous guys, you take a guy, wonderful guy, Wolfgang Puck, Michael McCarty, all these fabulous guys, Jeffrey Zakarian, that have done so much for the industry, where they've had to furlough their employees. They have had to apply for government subsidies in Germany and Hong Kong and New York and Vienna and all these places, but they're trying desperately to have the funds to keep their people on the payroll. All right, well, those are good people. Those that haven't, you gotta file for unemployment. You gotta just try to tap into your savings if you even have it to make it through the day. But you gotta stay sharp. You gotta keep your mind sharp. You can't lose your will, because everybody's in this by the tens of hundreds of millions of people. We're going to get through it, but it's going to be difficult. So you have to rely on people that can help you get through. You do not have to worry about pride. There's no room for pride right now. There's room for strength, but there's not room for pride. If you could file for unemployment, if you need to ask a family member or a friend for help to bide you through a few weeks' time, that's what it takes. But hundreds of millions of people are doing it. And it's just a question of getting through the next few months until the industries can come back. Now, in China already, occupancies are not at 0. They're at 30%. Well, it was great when the citywide averages in not the principal city of Beijing and Shanghai, but the other cities were doing 69, 71, 73% occupancy. Well, you'll take 37% occupancy over 0, right? But at least they're going to creep back. Now, what's going to wind up happening is that domestic tourism will come back first. It's going to come back for 2 reasons: safety and security issues, and straight up nationalism, that you're going to support the restaurants in your community, hotels in your community, and in your state before you're going to go regional, and you're going to support regional travel within 2 to 4 hours before you go on a 14-hour flight. It's almost like what happened after the attacks of September 11th. Everybody went downtown Tribeca, supported the restaurants, supported the stores, because there was a sense of nationalism. Well, there's going to be a major sense of nationalism in Italy, Spain, Germany, France, America. This is going to happen. And then when people start feeling that it's safe, they'll drive in the car. They'll get on a plane ride for an hour or 2, so they know if they have to get home, they can. And then it will start again. After September 11th, when we were running Atlantis in the Bahamas, September 10th, we had a 92% occupancy. September 12th, we had an 11% occupancy. September 13th, we had virtually a 2 or 3% occupancy. Well, by the time Thanksgiving came of that year, we were back up to, our regular occupancies. but that's because people knew that it was a one-off attack. This is much more insecure. So we're going to have to wait and see, but it will come back.
So you as a hotelier for a very, very long time, you're a hotelier, but you're also an entrepreneur. Your career is something that a lot of people look at and say, wow, he's had such a career, but you really are an entrepreneur. You've always worked for Jerry, and people have always bidded for your support or your employment, for lack of a better word. What do you say to that person that is considering that maybe I don't want to be a GM anymore? Maybe I need to go and do something else, still be in the hospitality industry, but more an entrepreneurial standpoint. Like, what do you say to that mindset? Because I know that happened to me about 9 years ago, where I was like, you know what, I'm going to be in a business, but I'm going to go become an entrepreneur a little bit freer. What do you say to those people? Because I get those questions almost 10 times a day.
Yeah, I think it's a super question, and I think, believe it or not, this pandemic is going to rightfully cause a lot of people to reassess their lives.
Right.
What's important now is coming into focus more than just chasing and running for the sake of chasing and running. This is gonna say, maybe it's time for me to go out on my own. Now, there's a lot of creativity out there. There's been a lot of great mentors. If you think about the great organizations, how they taught people, but people are going to be more sovereign now. They're going to want to take their lives and have more control over it. This whole thing about technology, working from home, having more time with your kids, having more time with your family, having more time to pursue your personal interest. When I speak to young people, which I try to do as much as I possibly can, and they say to me, look, you've been around a long time. We know what has worked well. What hasn't? Do you have any regrets after 53 years? Yeah, sure. I've made some big mistakes, but the big mistakes are the people that I love. And the big mistakes are that I always pulled a shift and worked breakfast, lunch, and dinner like the both of you boys before I said I love you or I spent the right time. And now we're going to learn that there has to be a better balance between your work and your pursuit of your career,
right,
and those people that you love and those people that you enjoy. So I think there's going to be a fountain of this entrepreneurial spirit. And what do you have to lose? Go try it on your own. What everybody realizes now, there's no shame in failing. There's the old saying, the guy or girl on top of the mountain didn't fall there.
Right.
You had to climb it, right? So go for it. Now's the time, because as an entrepreneur, yes, you will have more risk, but you'll also have more control to do what you want to do. And Anthony, you're a great example of that. I mean, you worked your tail off. You became such an exceptional GM, and then you said, no, I got a calling. I want to take my gifts. I want to do what I do, want to make money, want to support my family, take care of people around me. But there's very few people that have the generosity of spirit that you have. And a lot of people over the last 10 years have been, and especially over the last 5, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people have benefited from your generosity of spirit. You could only have done that if you had the courage to break out and be more entrepreneurial. Right. So I would encourage everybody to do that. There's going to be a lot of capital. It's different than what people think. The capital is not going to dry up.
Why? Talk about that. Why? Talk about that.
Because what's going to happen is that the economic trends around the world are still strong. They're still strong, right? You'll have some corrections and stuff like that, but you had in the turn of the millennium, before the millennium, WTTC could tell you. UNWTO, the great Roger Dow could tell you at USDA. But I think you had between 70, 80 ministers of tourism. Now you have double that. And that's because governments all over the world now are realizing that tourism is one of the best economic stimulation for jobs. You don't need a PhD in applied mathematics from Harvard to come into our community. You take some street kids like the three of us, we did pretty well, right? And we're still doing well. And there's a lot of people behind us that are
Right.
smarter and more charismatic than me that are going to cut the path, right? But now, instead of the minister of tourism being a big portfolio that you give to someone to help you on your campaign to be president or prime minister, now you're giving that portfolio to the smartest man or woman in the room, because you realize that there's nothing more important that affects your image of your country, the multiplier effect of foreign currency as it affects, your economy, and the producing of employment. So there's going to be a lot of capital out there, and the capital is going to invest in people. Remember what Warren Buffett said, and he's a pretty smart guy, and we can learn from him today as much as we could 30 years ago. And that is, I will always invest in products that I know are going to be around 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, right? But more importantly, I always invest in people. I look for passion. The Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, unbelievably smart, 34 years old, unbelievable work ethic, 80-hour-a-week work ethic. The first thing he'll tell you, you know what my father taught me, His Majesty the King? Surround yourself with passionate people. They'll get the job done. And so our community has produced people who love to serve, who are welcoming. And that's why the tech industry has poached our people. Insurance companies, banking, investment banking.
Hospitals.
They've taken hospitals. They've taken they recruit from us right out of college, right? It's one of our issues to retain our graduates, right? Because everybody knows that we love to serve. And now you wait and see what happens with hospital administration as a career, airport administration as a career, and then of course hospitality administration. Going to be a lot of things coming up.
Jerry, we don't have time now to talk about, but I'll just tell you a really, really quick story. Hopefully we'll have him on soon. There was a bellman that didn't want to be a union bellman, didn't want to be a supervisor back at the Macklowe Hotel in New York City, and I was the front office manager. We took a walk around Bryant Park, and I said, listen, you are the sharpest person I've ever met. I've been in the military. There's nobody sharper than you. You need to take this job. If it doesn't work out, I'll get you back in the union. You need to take the job. Didn't want to take it. 10 minutes later, or a day later, I should say, comes back and says, I'll take the job. You know what he is today, Jerry? He's the CEO of one of the largest hospitals in New York City.
Say, God bless him. And I'm going to tell you, what you guys should do if you want to have fun. And there's, you guys are, you have a PhD in fun, both of you. You drop my name and get one of the best bellmen on your show ever.
Yeah.
And that is Alan Firstman, who's the owner of Montage.
Montage. Oh, really?
And you call him.
All right. I've had him and his son on the show before. We'll get him on.
Michael is a chip off the old block. He's smarter than his old man. But you tell his old man that I said he's the best bellman I ever met. And you look at Montage and you look at Pendry. These guys have done a brilliant job. But you say, look, we had to get you on the show because Jerry says you're the best bellman, but stories.
But your
like
son's
that,
smarter than you, right?
Running. Yeah, his son is smarter and better looking, and Alan is super smart and super good looking. But Michael, you wait and see what Michael accomplishes in the next 20, 30 years in the hotel business. He's a superstar. That's a superstar family and one of the best brands in the world, huh?
One of the things, I look back now where I feel like, we're all starting over again. And I look back when I was young, 25, working at the Plaza Hotel for basically nothing. I think it was like 50 cents an hour almost. And because we worked 100 hours a week. But my enthusiasm is stronger than it was then. It's just never left me. God has blessed me with that. I don't know why or how. It's not something I try, but I'm really, really fortunate to just be blessed with, Michael Jordan was blessed with being able to play basketball. I was blessed with enthusiasm. How do you keep your enthusiasm? Because when I'm around you, we were at the Four Seasons recently, a couple of months, 8 months ago, and just sitting around you was like sitting around like some kind of energy I've never been around before. So, and I've been around you enough times to feel it all the time. When we were at the Forbes travel guide in the event, the black tie event in Beverly Hills, every single person in that room wanted to take a picture with you, including me. And there were 1,000 people in that room. You took a picture with every single person. And it wasn't like, hey, smile. It was like, hey, how are you? How's your family? How's the hotel? What's going on? And the line was ridiculously long. You had to wait 2 hours to see you, but you never, ever, the enthusiasm never left you. What can you tell someone that's just that feeling enthusiastic right now?
Yeah. Thank you for that. That means a lot to me. Because here's the thing. If the guest you serve take or extract your energy, you'll have a good season or two. But if the guests you serve are the source of your energy, you're going to have a few good decades, right? Now, if you welcome someone and someone thinks enough of you to want to take a picture with you, then you owe them that respect. And if there's a line of 1 or 1,000, you owe every single person that same respect, because you had the privilege to serve that allowed you to become a role model, even though we're all human. Now, we have good days and we have down days, right? And everybody's part of the human race. When you give, it takes a lot out of you. So you have to have a way to rejuvenate. Now, what I would say to all my friends that are listening, and thank you guys, is that concentrate on the word inspiration, one of the great words of our language. People think about it, but they never break it up. What is inspiration? In spirit and the process of rejuvenating the spirit, not outspiration, inspiration. So what happens is that you feed off the energy of these great people that come to you and say, how can I be like you? No, don't worry about being like me. Just serve. Because, there's that great line in Shakespeare. I used it on, when I had the privilege to do the TED Talk that's on YouTube. And I say, it's hard to quote a busboy from Brooklyn quoting Shakespeare, but Juliet says to Romeo, the more I give to thee, the more I have. Enthusiasm comes from knowing that you're doing good. You're just doing your best. Now, there is a line in the Quran. There's a lesson that you learn when you hear in the Middle East. It's really a universal lesson. But the Quran says, may Allah accept all your good intentions. It doesn't say, may Allah accept all your good results. Not everything is about results. It's about where your heart is. Are you sincere? Are you serving without looking for praise, without looking for reward? And if you do that, you will always be rewarded, whatever your beliefs are. So my enthusiasm comes from the fact that guys like us, girls like us, boys and girls that are in our community, men and women, we love to serve. It's our calling. It's our duty. But we also have the privilege of being around a long time. And then, in interest of time, one of the fairest institutions in the world is the Olympics, because you have to work hard to win an Olympic gold medal. Think how hard that is. How many gold medals? 200, 300 every 4 years out of a population of 7 billion? Think about the math on that.
Yep.
Now, the reason why the Olympics are so fair is because if you win a gold medal in the Olympics, not only are you not entitled to a gold medal in the next Olympics, you're not even entitled to place on the team. You got to make the team again. Now, what I'm doing as an old dog, I've worked hard to make the 2020 team. I'm trying to make the 2030 team.
Right.
That is beautifully said. And one of the questions, I'm sorry, Glenn, I just want to ask one more and I'll shut up for a second. But
you won't, but that's okay.
It is a tough question to ask you, but since we're both from the same place, and as articulate as you are and as intelligent as you are, I love the fact that you still say that instead of that, and so don't ever stop saying that, because I feel much better about myself. How hard your new adventure is taking you away from the United States for a time being. You're not here right now in the thick of it. Knowing you, how hard is that for you?
It's extremely hard for two reasons. One is because my family, my fabulous wife Prudence, very, very sharp girl, grew up in apartheid South Africa, self-educated, became one of the top TV anchors in the world. My divine boss, my daughter Helena, be 14 on August 3rd. You know, because of school
That's my
and
twin's
looking
birthday,
after.
by the way. That's my twin's birthday, August 3rd.
Yeah, yeah, great day. Tony Bennett, also August 3rd. You know, a lot of great people. So, you know, my mother is 93. Very, very hard to be away from them. Very hard to be away from my all my fellow innkeepers and everybody in tourism. But you know what? America is my home base. It's not my tourism family, because my tourism family is the global tourism family. Now, I'm very, very privileged because the custodian of the two holy mosques, His Majesty the King Salman here in Saudi Arabia, the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, extraordinary people. I mean, we at the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is 34 million people. There's people that are here that are undocumented. His Majesty has said that 100% of all the medical care and the hospitalization of everybody, whether they're documented or not, there's no politics here. There's no polarization. There's just one big generous spirit. And the other thing is that this year, Saudi Arabia has the privilege and honor of being the presidency of the G20. Now, the kingdom is putting together not just the G20 heads of state, but the G20 ministers of tourism, because what will happen in November and leading up to November is that our really excellent Minister of Tourism, His Excellency Ahmed Al Khatib, has been in touch with Gloria at WTTC and United Nations World Travel Organization and USTA to try and come up with stimulus packages that could reboot global tourism. Saudi's playing a major role in it. So I'm trying to keep in touch with as many countries as I can. We're one community. Home base is America. I'm an American kid, but we as innkeepers are global. Our community of service, our community of hospitality, our community of welcome. Now, the other thing I want to say, which is very important, because it's a reminder to everybody. It's said by everybody 3 years old or 103 years old. It's said by everybody of every faith, every religion, every nationality, every creed. Everybody says it every single day, but they don't slow it down enough. And that is, what do you say when someone says thank you? Everybody all over the world in every language says you're welcome. Slow it down. What are you saying? You are welcomed. We, as servants, have always been the custodians of the promise of welcoming people. We always have. We always will. There's going to come a time very soon in the weeks to come where we will go back in full force to do whatever you believe put us on this earth. God, Allah, Jah, Buddha, doesn't matter. We will go back to our calling, which is to do what we do best, serve and say, you are welcomed. That's our calling.
Yeah, I love it. You said something earlier. There is no shame in failure. Something I couldn't agree with you more about, Jerry. But I do think there's a shame in not trying, not getting out of your comfort zone and pushing for your potential. So I'd love for everybody out there to go back to that spirit of entrepreneurship that Jerry was talking about later, to think about that. Think about what scares you about that and to try to push through it. When I started my business a little over 4 years ago, I was scared of that failure, but I didn't allow myself to prevent me from doing something different because of that, because I knew that I had to push myself. I knew that I had to take a chance in my life. I knew that the only way to a better future was to challenge myself. Maybe you could speak a little bit about getting out of that comfort zone and forcing yourself, even though you're scared, to go ahead and try that something new, to put yourself out beyond where you feel safe.
You have to. You have to. Now, there's a great Winston Churchill quote. I probably won't get it right, but I'll paraphrase it because I wouldn't want to misquote the great man. But to be safe everywhere is to be strong nowhere. And you have to go for it. So people said to me, Jerry, I had once an executive search guy called me and he said, you're a maverick. And that's not everybody's cup of tea. I said, well, I'm from Brooklyn. Since when maverick is a good thing in Brooklyn? Since when did that become a bad thing? And by the way, I like reinventing myself because it allowed me to play regionally. It allowed me to play nationally. And then it allowed me to play globally. And you know what I found out when I got to play globally? That people want the same thing all over the world, but you got to go out and expose yourself. You have to go out and reinvent. You have to have the courage. And if you fail, there's nothing wrong with it. It's part of life. You got to get up and take the chance. And
Right.
if you do, you'll get the glory of it. Go, just go and try it.
And when you go and try it, there's something that happens to you that forces you to work harder. If you stay status quo and say, hey, this is good or whatever, you're going to work to that level. When you're an international person or you're a regional person or even a city person, and you're in around every famous person, I think, that's been born in the last 50 years and every major power broker in the last 50 years. And have you ever seen anyone in that position that hasn't worked harder than you?
There are fakes, but fakes don't last long.
Right.
You get some generational fakes but what I tell my daughter, and she gets it, and everybody knows this, beauty can only take you so far. Personality can only take you so far, right? But there's work ethic will never forsake you. It will never forsake you. And, with the Olympics, it's not actually the most talented person that wins the gold medal.
That's right.
No, not at all.
It's the person who wants it the most.
Mm-hmm.
You got to put the time in. You got to do the reps. In spring training, any sport, what do? Fundamental reps, reps, reps. But the real winners who win more than one season, who shape things, the Gretzkys, the Jordans, the Jeters, the Mia Hamms, they wanted it more than ever. They had the fire. They go after it. And what's the fuel? The thrill of victory is knowing that you gave it all you have. And by the way, failure is not losing. Failure is when you could have done better and you didn't. It's not what other failure is not other people judging you.
Right.
Failure is success and failure are individual. When you're successful and when you fail. No one else can judge you on that.
I'm going to go back and listen to this because the words that you're giving are absolute gold, and I'm going to listen and write a lot of what you're saying down, and because it's all true. But what do you say? Because I have 3 daughters, and I have all different levels of enthusiasm and go get them. But what do you say to somebody, whether it be an employee, a friend, or a daughter, that it's just not in their makeup? One of the things that I think we forget, or I know sometimes I forget, this is my makeup. God gave this to me. Michael Jordan at his Hall of Fame speech was still pissed off that he got cut from the team. I mean, this guy is the greatest basketball player ever lived, and he's still pissed off.
I mean, from his high school team.
Right, from his high school team. And he still talked about it in his Hall of Fame like his whole life depended on it. So
let me tell you something. That's a great question, and I'm really super happy that came up. Not everybody can be Michael Jordan. And not everybody should aspire to be Michael Jordan, because not every mountain is Everest. Now, it doesn't mean you're not entitled to climb it, but not every mountain is Everest. But I'll tell you the one thing that is true, universal, and it's probably the greatest lesson in life. To thy own self be true. To thy own self be true. If you want to be a pastry chef, be a pastry chef, but be the best damn pastry chef. If you want to be an opera singer, be an opera singer, but give it everything you have. And you know what? The results will take care of itself.
That's right.
I mean, what have we learned this month? Is there anyone on the earth that doesn't admire a nurse? Is there anyone that doesn't? Is there any parent on the planet now that doesn't have new respect for a school teacher? How they take care of 43 kids in kindergarten banging against the walls all day long? I mean, what respect? Now, in the teaching profession, in the medical profession, they're Michael Jordan, right? Now, what I say to people in the hotel, and I said it to my daughter, you know, Papa, when we go into hotels, people know you. And when I was CEO, I had the privilege of being with Forbes Travel Guide. She'd say, Dad, you're the CEO of the company. I said, Sister, let me just tell you something. If I don't show up to work for one day, Forbes Travel Guide is filled with good people that can run without me. Trust me.
Mm-hmm.
If that housekeeper doesn't show up, that telephone operator doesn't show up, that dishwasher doesn't show up, you're in real trouble. So what happens is that to thy own self be true. If you're an academic, if you're a servant, if you're an athlete, or if you're a scientist, all God or the divine expects of you is that you served unselfishly, but most importantly is be true to yourself. You're the final judge, not anybody else.
Mhm. And I think now we're in that position where we're all kind of starting at zero. I don't care what your bank account looks like. We all have to go fight and fight and fight and fight. And some people have the means to fight harder or fight longer. But now we're all starting over in the hospitality field. We're all because over doesn't mean at the bottom. It just means that effort, the effort you put in the day this virus came into our vernacular and into our world. You have to work harder.
Mhm.
The first day we're back, you have to work harder now, and it's just the way it is. This is a journey, not a destination. And I think there's no better example of that than you, Jerry. I don't think anyone has ever done it better when looking at this is a journey. Like even what you've done now, and I know when you decide to make this career shift, I'll be lying if I told you I didn't have a little tear in my eye when I heard, because I was like, wow, Jerry and I were just getting to know each other and we had some plans. But this is a journey. I looked at it for so many years as a destination. In the last few years, I look at it as a journey. And if you're any great example, it's not of enthusiasm and it's not of intellect and being a great hotelier, because you're all three of those things. It's that you're a journeyman. You're a man that understands the journey. And if you taught me anything, it's that this is a journey and I appreciate every second of it. So thank you for that.
No, thank you. Thank you. You know, we get into a position where now it's not about innings. It's about how can you take your God-given gifts, your privilege and your reputation? How do you take all of that and inspire people, those who come into your orbit, to be the best example of themselves? And the quarterback of that team is Oprah Winfrey. How do you be the best example of yourself? You know, Oprah, I encourage everybody to go online and listen to Oprah's commencement address to Harvard. You know, again, I can't quote her, even though she's very dear to me. But she said, you know, I've done 35,000 interviews. I've interviewed everybody. At the end of the day, all people are looking for is validation. Did I
Mhm.
do okay? Was it all right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you know what people really want to know? Did you see me? Did what I say matter? Did
Right.
you hear me? That's what hospitality is. You know, we tend to get glazed. You know, look what happened in many aspects of the airline industry. You know, it used to have such high personal service. Now it's just crank them in, crank them out, crank them in. That's going to change. And the airline business lost sight of their customers. We never did that in the hotel business. We never lost sight of them. You can't do that in the restaurant business. You'd be dead in a minute,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
But what happens now, and to the kingdom, was to contribute to the reforms that His Majesty and the Crown Prince are putting in. Because, like now on the Dedeya Gate Development Authority, which I have the privilege of being the CEO, we're 500 people, mostly Saudis, 83% Saudis, very young staff, 31%. But 36% of my staff are women. 16% of those women are in management. And now,
Awesome.
globally, one of the biggest trends are women coming into senior positions in hospitality, and they're rock stars. And I could tell you, in Saudi Arabia, thanks to the enthusiasm of a young crown prince, he is saying to everybody, dream big, and whatever you can dream, you can accomplish. And I'm going to make sure you have the resources. And he's doing it. And it's very exciting because, I sold everything, went to apartheid South Africa 4 years before the great Nelson Mandela became president in 1994. I went to join Saul in 1990, and things changed there. In apartheid, nobody could have careers in hospitality, and now it's one of the best tourism countries in the world. Well, Saudi Arabia in September of 2019 opened up for tourism. And it's going to be in the next, you're going to not believe it, next few years, going to be one of the great tourism countries. So it's about empowering people.
Right. Let me do a quick show note. He was referring to Saul Kerzner, who recently passed away. Saul created Sun City. He also created Atlantis, Bahamas. So he was a real interesting revolutionary type of character in the hospitality field. Please continue.
You know what's interesting? Whether it be Sal, whether it be the King, whether it be Nelson Mandela, whether it be Oprah Winfrey, whether it be Desmond Tutu, who you had, I think you had lunch with him on his birthday this year. I think I saw a picture, or maybe it was an older picture. Those people call you in their time of need. And tell me if this is, and I don't mean to out you, but I'm going to out you a little bit. Tell me if this is true or not. When Oprah's dear friend, and I don't know if mother, godmother, whatever you want to call it to her, the great poet passed away. And I won't even mention her name. Well, I will. Maya Angelou. When she passed away, Oprah called you. How does that happen? What is it about Jerry? What is it that when Jerry was just talking made me tear up? That there's something about your spirit, and it's much more than Brooklyn or your career or whatever. Like, they call you. These are the Michael Jackson, best man at your wedding. I mean, and I don't mean to name drop. I mean, we went to a Forbes thing, and Sharon Stone was like the most excited human being in the world, just standing 2 feet away from you. So whether it be a hotelier or a king, what is it in the DNA of Jerry Inzerillo? Because I need to bottle that.
Yeah, well, you want to know something? It's not the DNA of Jerry Inzerillo. It's the DNA of a servant. And you know what? There's one thing you can't mess with, and that's sincerity. And you know what? In a polarized society now, politics, this one calling this one, this one calling that one. You know what? All these great people, Oprah, Mandela, Tutu, all those people, they're human beings. They're the best and brightest. A lot of them have had to overcome great adversity. You think about the adversity.
Yep.
Mandela, 27 years in prison, Tutu, all the people you mentioned. Oprah, what a tough upbringing, what she became, one of the great role models of the world, the great Quincy Jones, tough upbringing, what he became. All these people, they know the truth. And what they know is what's real, what's authentic. So when they see people like them that know the truth, that have walked through the storms and serve to the best of their ability with all their heart, you become trusted. And the other thing, nowadays, who do you trust? Journalists can't keep a secret. Lawyers can't keep a secret. Lord knows politicians can't keep a secret. What's the only community in the world that can keep a secret and keep discretion and keep elegance? Innkeepers.
Yep.
We're the only ones. Restaurateurs, innkeepers, tourism. So these people you mentioned, they're the best and brightest of society. But in a lot of ways, they're the most truthful because they've had to walk through the fires to get where they are. And I'll tell you what they respect and admire more than anything. They admire sincerity, authenticity, unselfishness, and people that are willing to serve. And that's why they come to you, because you're trusted. Now, the other thing, trust takes years to establish and minutes to destroy. So that's why you have to have integrity. You got to be good to your word. You know, all of us grew up with role models that if you shook their hand, that's a contract. You know, you don't have to worry about.
Yep.
I never wake up in the morning, never, not once. How can I take advantage of this person, or how can I gain advantage on that person? Now, you know, you take your knocks. I've had more success than I deserve, and I've had a few thumps. But you know what? It's like Glenn says on failure. It gives you the character to make you who you are. But as Quincy says, you got to keep on keeping on. And as my great friend Richie Blackjack Slack, my roommate at UNLV, said, nothing to it but to do it. You got to go out there. You got to show up. You got to put the time in. You got to want it more. But the most important thing is be authentic and be sincere. And when you are, people will gravitate towards you. You don't have to worry about gravitating towards them.
And there's no more sincerity of giving your word. And in your position that you're in now, with everything that's happening around your family in the United States, you had an out. I would imagine that you could have said, "Hey, I need to go." And your sincerity and your loyalty is something that I admire, and something that you know, is instinctual. It's not something that you learn. It's instinctual. And I'd rather fail giving you the truth than succeed giving you a lie. And you use a word that no one uses, and I've used there's two things you said that I've been saying for a very, very long time. And one, I always say, if I'm not in the hotel for a couple of days, it doesn't matter. If my housekeeper doesn't show up, it matters. And that's why I'm such a big advocate of housekeepers. And number two, I've used the word servant over and over, and people look at me and they get offended by that word. They're like, I'm not a servant. Okay, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about me. I'm a servant. It's what I do. It's what we do on the show, Glenn and I. We're serving our industry. We're trying to bring people like you. Getting you on our show is a tremendous honor and a tremendous get.
Wow.
You know, if you're a host of a network show right now, getting Jerry Inzerillo to talk about the hotel business is a get. It's a huge get. So to be on our show and allow us to continue to be authentic and to tell the truth. And we don't do any rehearsal. Glenn and I have no rehearsal of what we're going to ask Jerry. You and I, Jerry, had no rehearsal. And I think that the servant leadership is something that has been instilled in me in the military. And the ability to be authentic has been instilled in me in the military, because I always said that if you're in the war, great leaders come back, bad leaders don't.
And you know the other thing, right? And you know the other thing, you could use the metaphor, but any military metaphor works. The captain never leaves the ship, man or woman.
Yep.
You never leave a Marine never leaves another Marine behind. We are one community. And by the way, all these exceptional people around the world that keep us safe in law and order, right? Mm-hmm. Think about what most police cars say in every language around the world. It doesn't say to protect and to serve. It says to serve and protect. Mm-hmm. Think about that.
Oh, that's interesting.
To serve and protect, not protect and serve. So we serve. Service is nobility. Now, Prudence, fabulous. You can't get a better person on earth than her. You have to stop saying that you're a servant. You know what? I am a servant, and I'm not going to stop saying it because I'm proud of it. There's nobility of service. And just one final reference to that TED Talk. I say in Latin that there's two words that trouble me, and I hope they trouble you. Who came up with the word subservient? That if you serve, you're below. Where we come from.
Interesting.
Service is noble. You're above. Subservient. And by the way, who came up with the word subordinate? The people you work with are below you? Who came up with that word? They're not part of my team, because the people you have the honor of working with people, you better make sure that they're respected and that their self-esteem is intact and that you work as a unit. And you can use whatever metaphors you want in commerce or military. If you're not tight as a unit, I got news for you. And another thing, there's no atheist in a foxhole. You know,
Right.
what happens now is that with this coronavirus, we are glued to each other as one community. We're going to persevere. We're going to get through it. We have to be realistic. But what got us to where we are now, sincerity, authenticity, work ethic, preparation, putting your reps in, wanting it more than anybody else. This DNA is going to be more important when we come out on the other side of this. So we just have to keep our resolve, stay together as a community. And that's why what the two of you guys are doing, nobody better, in keeping the conversations going, providing encouragement, providing comfort, providing realism, will allow people, the conversation, to know that they're not in this alone, that we're all together as one unit.
Well, thank you. And one of my favorite parts of the show is having guests like you on. And on our Feel Good Friday, we had country music artist Craig Morgan. We've had Brian Newman, Lady Gaga's band leader. We've had so many great people come on the show, and you're just it's an honor. But the most important question I have for you, Jerry, is when you come back to Brooklyn, where's the first place you're going? Rolling Roast, L&B, or Randazzo's?
Probably all of the above, but I can't believe it. The other night, it shows you how delirious you can be when you're working 80-hour weeks in isolation. But I just had I had an epiphany for the Manicotti at Spumoni Gardens. So I think I'm gonna have to hit that one. And by the way, when you talk to Firstman, the best bellman. You want to get someone else on the show, call him and say that Jerry Inzerillo said that there's only one busboy in his career that he would put in the category with him.
Yeah.
As a busboy. And get Horst Schulze on the show to talk about being a busboy.
Hey, could you reach out to him for us? Because I've tried in the past and I've gotten the get out of here, kid, kind of
we're gonna have to have Horst and Alan come on to talk about cleaning tables and running fronts.
If you can make that happen, and just so those people that from Brooklyn don't understand, Spumoni Gardens and L&B, it's L&B Spumoni Gardens, the same place. So I used to be a big chicken parm guy there, but now I didn't like the pizza there. I know that's I couldn't even say that out loud, but I love the pizza now. As I got older, L&B pizza is the best. So when you're back in Brooklyn, my friend, we're gonna have a beer and manigot and some pizza, and you're not invited, Glenn.
Well, hey, I wouldn't expect anything less. Jerry Inzerillo, thank you so much for being here all the way from the Middle East, and seems to get a better reception than a lot of the folks that we have here in,
right?
in terms of quality.
And better lighting. So, Jerry, that young, I want you, the last thing I want you to talk about real quick is that kid coming out of UNLV or Johnson & Wales or Cornell or Brooklyn Tech or wherever they're coming from around the country that had their heart set on hospitality. And they're like, hey, I'm rethinking hospitality. This is scary. We went from 100 to 0 quick. And I don't think this is the right time. I'm going to be, my mother wanted me to be, something else, and I'm going to go do something else. This is scary. What do you say to that person?
Oh boy, I'll tell you what, if there was ever a time to come into our community, it's now. Keep the faith. I'll tell you what, service, innkeeping, hospitality, greatest tourism, fastest growing industry in the planet. 11% of GDP, 1 out of every 10 jobs in many countries now, 1 out of 5. And remember, our community is in all 238 countries. Your guests change every day. You have the chance of seeing the best and brightest. You have a chance to know the world, to travel. The best industry in the world is tourism. You got to come in. There's going to be explosive opportunity. It may not be the same as the next 6 months, but you have to do it. Now, what you see behind me, I have to give a shout out to my friend Bob Karasmi, another guy that started way down in the ranks as a line. But I live at the Ritz-Carlton in Riyadh, which is a beautiful hotel. I think I'm the only guest here now because we have everything shut down. But a shout out to the great people of Marriott. We wish Arnie Sorensen, our great friend, all the strength. He's been an amazing leader. Mr. Marriott, everybody knows the Ritz-Carlton guys. Thank you for your hospitality. You've been a beacon to all of us. We are lucky as an industry to have. I mean, we have such an abundance of great leadership of everybody all over the world. So everybody that's got a degree in hotel administration, this is going to pay you big dividends. You don't even give a moment about thinking about going into other businesses. Stay the course, because the future of hospitality is brilliant. And remember, you can move at your own speed. In the old days, you had to be a front office manager 5 years, and a rooms division manager 5 years, and an executive assistant manager 10 years, and then you got to be a GM in your 50s. Now, some of the best GMs in the world, men and women, all nationality, all faiths, in their 30s, some in their 20s. Best time to come in the industry. Be very, very excited about the future.
Weren't you the youngest GM? Weren't you the youngest GM in Four Seasons history at the time?
Yes, Izzy. I was tempted to ask Isidore Sharp, the founder of Four Seasons, who I love, one of the greatest innkeepers ever on the planet. Talk about one of the best in the last 100 years. Think about how great Four Seasons is.
Well, ask him at 2:30 when you talk to him.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, he's one of my heroes. And by the way, if you say to Isidore Sharp, this is very important. I'm glad you brought it up. If you say to Isidore Sharp, you built arguably one of the greatest luxury hotel companies in the history of luxury, how did you do it? He will say, don't look for a sophisticated answer. It's two things. The golden rule: do unto others as you would want them to do unto you. And I did not make Four Seasons great. All the people who work at Four Seasons made Four Seasons great. And that's why Isidore Sharp is great, because one of the greatest attributes of our community, besides authenticity, discretion, and confidentiality, one of the greatest attributes of our community is humility. And you will never find a more humble person than Isidore Sharp, than Mr. Oberoi. You talk about Michael Kadori, humble, very, very wonderful, wonderful people. So that's very important.
So that is a great message. If you're in this industry starting out, and I agree, and I've said it, please, now is the time. We need talent. And the fakers won't make it. Those people that are in the industry for the last 10 years that were just calling it in and picking up the phone and not real salespeople, not real revenue managers, not real general managers, they're not going to make it. And because there's so many opportunities, and you have an opportunity to really go high really fast if you're willing to put in the work. And the one thing, the word work has got to be the number one word in your dictionary. Work, work, work. And it will be, me and Jerry are complete 100% products of Brooklyn, of people that just worked really hard and were given opportunities that we took the most of. Glenn, started this company 4 years ago, and he is the person that everybody turns to in our industry to discuss our industry. So work is a word that will never go out of style.
And by the way, the great Quincy Jones will tell you that the dictionary is the only place where success comes before work.
That is true. Jerry, I am honored. I know, Glenn,
It's my honor.
But it is absolutely my honor. And I cannot wait to see all the great things you're doing there. And I can't not wait to be in your embrace again and give you a big kiss and a hug. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Keep up the good work.
Jerry, and when you do get back and you guys have that dinner, I'm going to totally crash it, even though I'm not invited. Thank you.
You're most welcome. Listen, everybody, stay strong. We're going to get through this. God bless you. Better days ahead. Just hang in there.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks, guys.
Wow.
Wow is right. And let me tell you something. Arlene, who's my first general manager, just went on my Facebook page and said, Jerry Inzerillo is such an inspiration. Totally agree on his philosophy. Believe in your people. Well, Arlene was my first GM, and I'm going to cry because she is that person. She was the person that inspired me. She was the person that said, I look good in a suit for the first time I ever wore a suit. And she goes, now you're ready for the meeting. So Arlene, as much as Jerry's an inspiration, you can see tears in my eyes. You're an inspiration. And so thank you for coming on here and saying that. But wow, look at Jerry, man. How how powerful of a man.
That was an incredible conversation that we had, and it was amazing to be a part of it. And I'll tell you, I can't put up the LinkedIn stuff on our screens yet. Our technology is still we're still trying to figure that out. Well, not us, the people we work with are trying to figure that out. But I've never seen such positive reactions from people. They were moved, they were inspired. This has been one of the most special shows we've ever done. In fact, if you listen to what our audience is saying, they think this was probably the best show that we've ever done. So, Jerry, you're making it hard for us. We got to try to top this one somehow. I don't know how we're gonna have to do it, but
maybe we'll bring up Schultze. But what's interesting is this is the best show we ever done, and we didn't do any of the talking. So that's saying something.
I think it was so good. All right,
we don't need to talk.
All right, so Jerry Bave said that you got to work hard and do all of that kind of stuff in order to get past a certain level. I'm going to continue to just rely on these amazing good looks over here because I'm too lazy to put in the work. But Anthony, any final thoughts before we get out of here today?
Well, I have a 2:00 show that I might be late for. Am I late? 3 minutes.
Yeah, you're going to be late, especially since I had something else set up for us too. So
let's do it. So Jeremy, I'm going to be a little late. She's probably hearing me right now. To my Facebook Live show that I do every day with my partner Jeremy. But what I think is really important is every one of us that have been listening to Jerry, and I will re-listen to this broadcast. And if you missed it, please go to the podcast, go back to Facebook Live or go to LinkedIn Live and watch it tonight when you have some time. But let me. I think we all need to pick some words and some moments from his conversation. First, go to YouTube and look at his speech that he gave, his TED Talk. Number one. Number two, go look at Oprah's speech at Harvard. I've listened to it. It's amazing. But there's words that have kept me strong over the years, and he reinforced them today. Servant, I am a servant, number one. Number two, work ethic. I work really hard. And number three, be true to your word. Do those three things, and nothing will get in your way. That's it. This guy, I asked him, I wouldn't say to him on the interview, and I love the fact that he says that. That makes me so happy. I asked him a question. I pulled him over at Forbes one day, and I just met him. Jerry Inzerillo, big deal. I don't care. I'm from Brooklyn. I don't get over here. I want to talk to you. I put my arm around him. I said, "You're not the real deal until you can answer this question. If you can answer this question, you're the real deal." And I asked him a question. I won't tell you what I asked him. I asked him if he knew somebody from the neighborhood.
Right.
And he called him Uncle. Let's say his name was Angelo, for lack of a word. He goes, "You mean Uncle Angelo? He was in my house." I was like, "All right, you're the real deal." And he said the right things that I knew he was true. So he is Brooklyn as Brooklyn gets, and that he is where he is are those three words. He's a servant, he works, he's authentic. That's it.
Yep.
No secret. No secret.
All right. I absolutely love it. All right. We got to get out of here, guys. This has been an absolutely incredible show. I want to thank you all for being here, and we will see you tomorrow.
I would need to know from you, Glenn, what's the one word or one thing that he said to you that you'll remember? I need to know.
Oh, man. There was just so much
on that. Even though you can delete me, but you have to say one.
to say one. I loved his attitude of being a servant leader for one. And to me, it's about when you put all of that stuff out there, it's going to come back to you in a better and more righteous type of a place. So I'm a big believer in you put out all that positive energy. You work hard, you will find success as long as you find your passion. And I think he really underscored that very, very nicely today. Because
2 hours, my friend, 2 hours.
Yeah, because Anthony and I didn't get into this to make money, but earning money is a result of passion that we put into this, right? So I don't say I want to make X amount of dollars. I just try to work really hard at what I want to do, and I know the rest of that stuff will work itself out.
This has zero to do with making money at all.
Yeah,
we're in trouble if this is how we're going to make money.
No,
this is about bringing people like him on, and it was an honor. So 2 hours and 36 seconds, my friend. Good job, and I'm blessed to know you and humbled as always.
Bless you, and make sure you check out Anthony's show on Facebook. But he's going to be a little bit late because I got to talk to him a little bit off the air about some stuff. So thank you guys for being here. We will check you tomorrow, and this one's for you, Anthony. Thanks for checking in.
Thanks, Jerry.